fight, run, anything but sit there and apologize for existing. But destiny, or perhaps just a misplaced sense of bravado, gave Jack a second chance. That evening, they returned to the pub. Jack had spent the day mentally rehearsing a confrontation that he hoped would never happen. As luck would have it, the giant was there again. "Hello, sweetie," the man said, approaching their table. This time, Jack stood up. He didn't feel brave, but he felt tired of feeling small. "Listen, you," he barked, pointing a finger at the man's chest. "You owe these ladies an apology. You were a creep last night, and you're being a creep now." The giant looked surprised. He raised a massive hand, and Jack braced for the end. Suddenly, Stanley Roper appeared out of the shadows. He had a bandage wrapped around his jaw, the result of a persistent toothache that had made him even more irritable than usual. "What's going on here?" Stanley grunted. "This little runt is bothering me," the giant said, pointing at Jack. Stanley looked the giant up and down. "He's not bothering you. He's telling you off. And if I were you, I'd listen. This kid's a hero." The giant blinked. "A hero?" "Yeah," Stanley continued, warming to the story. "He's got a steel plate in his head. From Vietnam. Save his entire platoon. If you hit him, you'll probably just break your hand." The giant looked at Jack's head with newfound respect and a hint of fear. "A steel plate, huh? Sorry, I didn't know. Just don't get mad. Hero." The man backed away, leaving Jack standing there, stunned. "A steel plate," Jack whispered to Stanley as the bully retreated. It was the first thing that came to mind. Stanley shrugged. "Besides, with your luck, you've probably got rocks in there too. Now, buy me a brandy. My tooth is killing me." Chapter 12. The Case of the Vanishing Rent. The victory at the pub was short-lived, as the harsh reality of Santa Monica living caught up with them. Rent was due. $300. "I have it right here," Jana said, tapping a white envelope on the shelf in the living room. "I'm just going to leave it under the radio so we don't forget it when Mr. Roper comes by." But as the day progressed, chaos ensued. Chrissy, thinking the radio was broken, took it to a repair shop, forgetting that the rent money was tucked neatly underneath it. When Jack and Jana returned home, the shelf was bare. "The money!" Jana shrieked. "It's gone! We've been robbed!" Panic gripped apartment 201. They called the police, and soon a weary-looking officer was wandering through their living room, taking notes with an air of profound boredom. "No signs of forcible entry," the officer muttered. "And you say you left $300 in an envelope marked rent on an open shelf?" "Yes," Jack exclaimed. "It was a very organized crime." The officer looked at Jack, then at Jana and Chrissy. "Listen, kids, I've seen this before. Next time you want to fake a burglary to get out of paying the rent, try breaking a window or something. Nobody is stupid enough to leave that much cash lying around." "We are," Chrissy shouted, but the officer had already closed his notebook and was heading for the door. "You're lucky I don't run you all in for filing a false report," he called back over his shoulder. Chapter 13, The Monastery of Santa Monica. Desperate, Jack headed to the financial aid office at his culinary school. He had heard they gave loans to students in dire need. "Mr. Tripper," the administrator said, peering over his spectacles, "you say you've been the victim of a robbery and that you have helpless girls depending on you?" "Yes, sir," Jack said, putting on his best tragic face. "It's a tragedy, a Santa Monica Shakespearean drama." The administrator looked at the application. "It says here you live with 2 roommates, 2 girls. Is that common in the culinary world?" "Oh, it's the 70s, sir," Jack said, trying to sound progressive. "It's like a monastery, but with better hair products." "I see. And your father, what does he do for a living?" "He's a hard-working man, sir. Earns about $6,000 a year." The administrator sighed and pushed the papers back. "I'm sorry, Mr. Tripper, but because your father makes over $6,000, you are not a hardship case. In the eyes of the state, you are practically royalty." "Royalty?" Jack gasped. "I'm a prince who can't pay his rent. Is there no justice?" Chapter 14, The Receipt of Redemption. Jack returned to the apartment, defeated. They were packed and ready to flee to the pub again to avoid the inevitable confrontation with Stanley Roper. But as they headed for the door, Stanley and Helen burst in. "Hold it! Nobody's leaving!" Stanley shouted. "Mr. Roper, we can explain." Jonna started, her voice trembling. "The robbery, the police, the monastery. I don't want an explanation." Stanley snapped. "I just want to know, are you coming to dinner or not?" The trio blinked. "Dinner?" "Yes," Helen cried, beaming. Stanley decided to be neighborly. "He's taking us all out to celebrate the fact that he doesn't have to cook tonight." "But the rent?" Jack asked cautiously. "The rent?" Stanley looked confused. "You already paid it. I came up yesterday to fix the sink, saw the envelope, and took it. Naturally." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, yellow slip of paper. "I even left you a receipt. It was under the toaster. Didn't you see it?" The roommates looked at each other. They had spent 48 hours in a state of near collapse, dodging police, lying to loan officers, and planning a life as fugitives, all because Stanley Roper had actually done his job for once. "A receipt," Jonna whispered, taking the paper. "He left a receipt." "Well," Jack said, his trademark grin slowly returning to his face, "I suppose that means the souffle is officially off the menu. Mr. Roper, lead the way. I'm starving." As they followed the Ropers down the stairs, the sun set finely over Santa Monica, turning the stucco walls to gold. They were safe, they were fed, and for one more month, they were the most unlikely family on 101st Street. Chapter 15, The Morning After the Storm. The aftermath of a Stanley-sanctioned dinner was always a mix of indigestion and existential dread. Jack woke up the next morning feeling like a herd of miniature elephants had performed a synchronized dance routine on his stomach. The neighborly dinner had consisted of mystery meatloaf and a conversation that revolved entirely around Stan